Welcome to our program On Target. And as usual, as soon as we start this program, you can pick up your telephone and call. Obviously, you have to get on WhatsApp because of the hurricane. We are still struggling to get back to where we were before burial. So you can pick us up on your WhatsApp. We take calls from the same number, 4420175. We will do our utmost to read out your questions or your pertinent comments. And we on RealFM 91.5, 91.9, we're still struggling with. So you have to go to 91.5. In some areas, St. Andrews, St. George's, it is active. And you might have to raise the volume a little to get it clear. And we always encourage children in their home to help their parents, help the elderly one, help the elderly men to manage their phone. Some of them have expensive phone, but they can't do much with it. And you younger ones, you have the knowledge, but you lack the communication skills to help to improve the elder ones. It's sad because most of the elder ones have the money, they have the collateral, they have the knowledge, and they have the experience. And you have the skills in technology. That's all you have. If we can get the younger ones to work, to function effectively with the elder one, we could achieve a lot in this country. You know? And perhaps this is a correct point to start on. We have had a hurricane that damaged principally two parishes. Carriacou and Pittimatnik was badly damaged. St. Patrick's was seriously damaged. That's the two parish. The economic base in Grenada is intact. There is absolutely no need for us to put our hand on our head and do as if we surrender. Exasperation. You know, as if the world ending. No. We can recover effectively from the hurricane in a shorter time than perhaps we expect. Two parishes are affected. All but seriously, the economic base of the country is intact. The St. George's University contributes more than 20% of the GDP. Tourism is on the rise after COVID-19, and the tourist belt has not been affected. The service industry is good. The government depends on the CBI program for more than 50% of its budgetary financing. That is intact. The previous government put some insurance in place. So that is a bonus. Other Caribbean countries have not been affected so far. They promise to help. So there is no need to put our face sour as lime, to look as if the world ending, to be without hope. We must understand that if we are doing that, what happened to our children? I have not heard the Minister of Education. I have not heard the Permanent Secretary in Education. And I have not heard the Chief Education Officer. In my opinion, this is the three powerful people involved in education. They ought to be the first one to speak. They should be the first one to speak. Because if the parents is crying like cry baby, imagine the children. The children are looking at the face, the demeanor, the countenance of the parents. And if they see a hopeless, traumatized parents in a state of paralysis, imagine what happened to your children. Some of the parents may be pretending. And I know that is hard for some people to understand. They might put their face more sorry or more painful than they really are. But the children will be looking at the faces of the parents. And this disaster could affect the children much more than the parents. And parents have to be mindful. When you act into conflicts, you must be careful what you say, what you do around your children. You must give them a fighting spirit. You must give them, after he got his ears shut off, you see his hand raised in defiance. His hand was raised in defiance. And he was struggling with the Secret Service and exposing himself more with a hand in defiance. I like that. I admire his fighting spirit. I've looked on the face of some farmers, they look as if they go dead. Imagine the children. Imagine the children. That is why I'm a little bit disappointed. Not that I expected much, but I'm disappointed in the Minister of Education, the Permanent Secretary in Education, and the Chief Education Officer. All these people have a briefcase of certificate. They have done humanities, they have done psychology, they did sociology, they did management, and are absolutely certain they did clinical psychology. They ought to know better. They seem to lack the ability to practicalize their certification in times of crisis. The only times you really know who you have is when you're in trouble. The only time you really know how good your man is when you need him most. The only time you know what kind of woman you have is when you need her most. When you're jumping up and you're whining in tongue, you don't even need to see a woman. Or you women don't even need to see your man. But if you are distressed, you turn to them. And in the same way, in this present situation in Carriacou, that has been seriously damaged, Carriacou and Pitimatnik, and St. Patrick's, the children, we must be concerned about the children. This is not iffy. The Ministry of Education should prepare for crisis. And they should already know what they're doing with the children in Carriacou. They should already know that you can't be iffy. You can't look as if you lose hope. You can't look as if you want other Caribbean islands to tell you what to do. NAGMA should have an education arm. Because once you have a disaster, the schools are used for shelter. And if the shelter is damaged, you should know what you're doing with the schools. And you should already providing answers, positive answers. You look helpless. You look green. As if you're showing up with exasperation. As if you're showing a sign of defeat. You ought not to be. Why? The children is looking on you. They want to see hope. They want to see fighting spirit. They want to see that we will get back quickly. We will do better. We will prepare better this time. If you do psychology, that is why I have difficulties with some of our intellectuals. They seem to lack the ability to practicalize their certification. I always wonder if they are not more commission agents for the multinational corporation. As if they was trained to trick us. You see, we must be concerned because 70% of the children that exit school cannot meet the minimum requirements to be competitive on the job market. I've been saying that for a long time and daring them to take me on. The University of the West Indies have not done justice to our economic base, to our economic reality, to the hopes and aspirations of the politicians. Your University of the West Indies have to be a think tank. We live in an environment where hurricane challenges is part of the staple. Our housing stock has not been built ready for that. We should take an example on Japan. Japan is a earthquake-prone area. We are a hurricane-prone area. Japan understand that and build to suit. We in the Caribbean like cry baby. Every time a hurricane pass. In this situation now is even worse. Because we have a government that is not inclusive. That seems to be excited when they see money. That want to live a luxurious life. That is insensitive to the cries of the elderly, the physically challenged and disadvantaged children. We have an education system that is unproductive. It is quite true that about 15-20% of the children will do very well. 15 to 20% will do very well. But it is natural for 70% to fall lower than the minimum standard. Mediocrity must not be the order of the day. You must be fair with yourself. I say to people, don't lie to yourself. Go in the mirror. And everybody a big mirror in the house. Unless you're poor. You're destitute poor. Your income is under $1,000 a month. You may not have a piece of mirror. Go in your mirror and watch your face and ask questions. You must never lie to yourself. If your children is not doing well in school, you must acknowledge that and do something about it. The majority of children that is in school today, their parents went to secondary school. So there is no excuse. No excuse. Prior to the hurricane, electricity, telephone, and water was over 90% rich in Grenada. We had access to internet, and I believe they instituted that every school should have internet and they should leave it on weekend. Some of them, the school shutting it down. I understand they should leave it open and on so the children could come back in the school, near the school, and do their work. Our children have more gadgets than perhaps a lot of children in the Caribbean. So there is absolutely no excuse why 70% of our children couldn't meet the minimum requirement and nobody seems scared. Even the parents' children are failing. They're jumping up as if they win the lotto. If you see them on graduation, sometimes the man dressed in white and red and the woman dressed in red and white. They're going in graduation. The children not doing well in school, But if you see the parents, and they're paying a lot of money for graduation, $200 for this, $150 for that, $300 for this, and the child is not doing well. The same parent that pays money to go to a show every month would not pay $5 to teach their children music. Let me say that again. The same parent who's spending hundreds of dollars to go to graduation, they would not pay $5 a week to teach their children music. I have said repeatedly on many programs, if you can't buy a piano and you can't buy a guitar, buy a shell. A shell would not cost you more than $5. And you go eat the lamb in it. And teach your children to blow the shell. Because if you could blow the shell, they enter in the arena of air instrument. And some people say the shell is close to the trumpet. So later on they might blow the saxophone. We have over 500 soca artists in our country. Whining, with plenty objectionable lyrics. Then why don't we teach them Spanish? Spanish should be taught in primary school, if not for exam. Because if you have over 500 soca artists, and 10% of them could attract the Latin America market, you may have a whole set of millionaires in Tikolo and Kumande and Kongoton. And that perhaps would be children that would never reach the minimum requirements. Sometimes I believe the black man is the black man's worst enemy. We like to blame people. Every time you speak to a black man, he tell you how long he spent in slavery. You want your grandfather back pay. And normally say your grandfather back pay is for your father, not for you. And he was never in slavery. Come out of it. We have some intellects looking for reparation. They want reparation from the white man, from the European. I always ask them, what's about reparation from our forefathers who sold us in slavery? The black man sold his children in slavery. You have a history of doing that. For 700 years, before the white man started to buy slaves, the black man selling slaves. Look at what happened to this government. This government came to office 2 years ago. They won 11 seats, 10 seats, 9 seats, sorry. They won 9 seats. They had the result we had in 1976. One of the first acts was to go after the elderly, the physically challenged, and disadvantaged children. When they did that, I say, if it was slavery, they would have sold them. We seem to have a natural talent to suppress one another. So today I speak to the 70% of the children parents that are likely to fail. In the school, they will use more scientific and palatable language. They will say you're slow. But what they mean, you don't. They profile our children from the time they're 5 years. The die is cast by the time your children enter school at 5. They practically know who will fail and who is going to succeed. You may want to have 1 or 2 from the group they target to fail. You may salvage them. But if we let that continue, where are we going? Where? Throughout the Caribbean, we like fish out of water, not understanding that our education system is unproductive. Simple. If you have an individual sewing pants, a tailor, and 70% of the pants that he sew, he can't get it sell because he don't good. He like skirt, he too short. They pleat upside it down. Is he a good tailor? If you have a seamstress sewing bodies dress, and 70% of the people complaining, she will go out of business, she can't sew. If you have a maker of chair, making chairs, and the majority of people he work for complaining, his workshop will close down. If you have a plumber fixing pipe, and he build up a reputation for a leaky plumber, you have to leave and go and sell roti or something. If you have somebody teaching Spanish in school and 70% of the children can't pass Spanish, then they should go back to school and learn Spanish. If you have somebody teaching maths and 10 children passing out of 100, the individual can't teach maths. 8 of the children would have passed without teachers. Our schools are unproductive. And mediocrity is the order of the day. And the educators don't care. If we have a situation in Carriacou where significant numbers of the houses have crashed, the schools that you use for shelter crash. But over a week, hurricane passed, and not a word from the Minister of Education, the Chief Education Officer, and the Permanent Secretary. They don't care. The children is important. The children are traumatized. If the parents bawling, what do you expect the children to do? Why you want them? They're too big to drink rum. If they take the advice of Mr. X, they go licks it. If the women take the advice of the great scholar, they go open their business. Because they are not hearing the voice of the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education, as far as I am concerned, was the first one to speak. The Chief Education Officer. The Permanent Secretary in Education. And the Minister of Education. And they should have answers. They should give hope. They should give encouragement. It is not a question of doom and gloom. They should encourage children to write essays and write poems and write jokes about the hurricane. They should use the medium to challenge the children. Now, where they get these educators and them? Where they get them? This is a period of time when you use the children, you encourage the children to write essays and poems and humor about their experience. Even that is therapeutic. So they don't learn that in school. They didn't learn that in university. When I was doing humanity and sociology and psychology, they didn't learn that. And these individuals are bright. They have a briefcase, a certificate. They must solve problem. And nobody seems to worry, you know. We asking the Minister of Housing about house. We asking the Prime Minister. We asking about the Minister of Finance. Where is the Minister of Education? Where is the Chief Education Officer? Yes, caller, welcome. Yes, caller, welcome. Welcome to our program.
Yes, good afternoon to you once again, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother.
And how are you today?
Great, man. Good as usual.
Oh, yeah, as usual. Great program. You are making some very important observation, particularly as it relates to our education system, which I made many years ago. We start with our teaching resource. Gone are the days when you will say children are dunce. There is no dunce child. There's children that is slow. And the reason why some children are slow, you'll find these children want to be perfect. They want to do it right, so they take the time to get it. There's children who they comprehend as they go, and some children they have to read over and over and over before they comprehend. Now, the children who are doing those things, they will appear to be slow, and they're being left behind. There is children who have to be taught, and there is children who can teach themselves. The children who can teach themselves, you leave them on their own, just give them minor support. But the children who cannot help themselves, those are the children that you teach. As I said, a person only starts teaching when they meet somebody who they have to impart to, who doesn't have anything in their head. You can't teach somebody who already taught. And so we have a situation here in Grenada that we do not have an interest in people, in each other. And so who cares? What are you doing it for? Are you doing it for interest? Are you doing it to put out professionals? So you must have something that you're doing it for. Am I teaching for interest? Yes, if you're teaching for interest, you will have an interest in whoever is in your class. If you're not teaching for interest, therefore you don't care. We fast track children up to 7th standard, even up to the end of the secondary school, and they still cannot read and write. And it is because we do not have an interest. Therefore, we're not seeing beyond where we are, the future. When you cannot prepare children for leaders, who do you expect to lead? Who would you take to be your foreign minister? Who would you take to be your attorney general? We have to put those things into perspective. And so, therefore, we have to have an interest in each other first, and then an interest in the people who is under us, the people who we are teaching. We have to get that right. If we fail to, we fight each other down. We drag each other down. And that's the problem. We have to stop that, lest we will not have people to govern this country. We're struggling for leadership now, yeah? And within the next 20 to 25 years, we do not know what it will be. Therefore, the people who are responsible for young ones have to take this thing very seriously, to impart very seriously to them, to ensure that we could have a continuum in leadership. Have a great day, sir.
Yes, Colin, I welcome your view. When we're speaking about education, people don't bother to call. My greatest worry in Grenada is about the level of insensitivity, the lack of respect of our leaders, and the expression and dismissive language against people of the so-called perceived lower income. I'm worried about that. We had the 1951 struggle in Erigeri period. We understand the majority of people were illiterate. The job market was principally fishing and agriculture. A few people owned the estates, and the majority of people work in the estate. The public service then was about 100, 200 persons, 300 persons. We had the struggles of 1974 when we was fighting for independence. Again, the public service increased, but the majority of people was estate workers. Erigeri built 28 schools in 13.5 years. His mantra was education, education. That time they used to beat the children in school. The skin on the back, they consider it as hide. Parents used to beating children to go to school. And teachers beating children, taking the parents, when the children reach in the school, lash for not wanting to come to school. 30 and 20 and 25 strokes was normal, particularly for the boys with big nose, thick lip, and kinky hair. They used to say, take Ned Toady, nigger head to damn hard. And even parents encourage them to beat you. If you bleed, you bleed. And that was the parents who wanted education. 28 schools in 13 and a half years. Secondary schools improved. St. George's University. What we have now is low productivity in the school. The children of labor are not teaching the children of labor. And the Minister of Education don't care. And I happen to know these individual parents was poor like church mice. They get free education. They swell their head. And they believe they're in a different social class. How 15 and 20% of the people of Grenada, if they are educated, how could the country make progress? How? You have a hurricane damage in 2 parishes. You don't have skills men to handle it. 2 parish damage, you know. You don't have skills men to. You have a government that is not inclusive. You have a government that initiates a policy that is fractious. And you have an education system that don't care. This have to be okay. I don't know how any educator could feel proud that 70% of the children that you're teaching, you certain they will not be competitive on the job market. A couple years ago, we had the teachers' union in a conflict declare work to rule. They didn't talking with parents. I don't think that program was so successful. But the idea, they plan to go to the school and not to talk to children. They plan to go to work at the school lunchtime, hoping that crime would commit. In Trinidad, the teachers' union was advising teachers not to interfere in conflicts. When 90% of the conflicts that start in school would immediately stop with the presence of teachers. In Ghana, the union was battling government because they did not want the government to send back a child in school, even if it was not the school where the conflict take place. When our own people take on a position like that, what you expect? You expect an increase in crime. You expect an increase in crime. You expect an increase in social decadence. All the prisons in the Caribbean, all of them, is overpopulated. Yet people asking for stiffer penalties. And you have a dumb government that want to pass draconian laws not to provide bail for people. They even take the right from the magistrate away not to provide bail. So he must go to a judge. So thousands of dollars have to be spent. Does the poor man could spend that money? Where are our thinkers? And while that going, so-called leaders who was walking around the country with morality tied around their neck as if it's a gallad, shut them out. And the teachers' union leader is advocating for restorative justice. He wants people from the public service who is perceived to be NNP to be fired. That is the country we have. We could continue pretending, or we could recognize our flaws and fix it. And that is why when I speak, I am attempting to let truth walk down the street. And that's why I challenge my NDC brothers and sisters, the hardliners in NDC, the hardliners. I dare them and challenge them to take on the truth. What is going to happen in the next 20 years? I had a one-to-one with a sister who is against me. She said, every time you open your mouth, you're talking about Deacon. Why? Well, I say I go after leaders. And Deacon is a shepherd. The teachers' unions are shepherd. The people in education are shepherd. Lawyers are leaders. And I think they are the one that is suppressing the development of the country. But I challenge her. Watching Kumande, all the young men in Kumande, go home, think about them, and tell me what's going to happen in Kumande in the next 10 years. We have had about 40 or 50 young men in the last 2 years or more leaving Grenada and going to England, United States of America. The majority of them went to England. Some of them were the good cricketers. Some of them were the athletes. To the extent you can't even have a cricket team in Kumande anymore. One individual from Kumande that is a policeman. One. And right now he contemplating living because they say he have green blood. What is going to happen to the community in the next 20 years? Alcohol, drugs, and gamble. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre. How are you?
Great, man.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, I'm calling from Carriacou, and the signal is a bit difficult.
Okay.
We are always cutting on and off.
Yeah.
Mr. Pierre, I'm very, very, very disappointed with this government. I'm here 2 weeks and a half now after the hurricane, and I yet to see anybody coming to visit the people where I am in Bellevue South. No one. Right, Mr. Pierre? In the last hurricane we had in Ivan, we used to have a team of people visiting all the constituency, checking on the poor and the vulnerable. Even if you're blind, nobody coming. They're making sure that your house have tarpaulin. At that time, after Ivan, I didn't need no tarpaulin. But now I do. Now, thank God, I get some good Samaritan to come and they cover my house for me. And I'm ever so grateful. Right now, no one, if you don't go out the street and walk down in the town, you're not seeing nobody. The Carriacou right now is like Haiti. When you look at it, everything is done. But yet, our Prime Minister phoning all the diaspora people, giving them the wrong impression that he's doing good for Carriacou people. I don't see him doing anything. Right now, everything is the same. You come in the village, you drive around the village, you're going to see it is isolated. You're not even seeing a dog. Everything is on the ground. Everything, I can't see no help. You don't meet the people and ask you, well, how are you getting on? I'm not seeing that, Mr. Pierre. So as far as I'm concerned, he's not doing nothing. Unless I take my 2 eyes and see, then I will say something different. Because in the meantime, we can't drive around how we want because petrol is a shortage. I mean, gas is a shortage. You have the queue is so long that you can't even get through. So we have to wait and wait and wait. You cannot get what you want because shops are down. It's only a couple of supermarkets open and we depend on them and thank God for them. But the rest of the country is down in the gutter. I'm telling you, it's like Haiti. It reminds me of Haiti. It's like someone just knocked down every shop, every building. So when you walk in or you look at it, everything is in a straight line. Like when you empty out the garbage bin in a straight line. That's what it looks like. So Carriacou having a hard time. I don't know what representative we have, but as far as I'm concerned, we don't have none. Because if I couldn't go out, I would not be able to get a bottle of water because nobody offering it to you. So I thank God you have radio station like this. We have to plead our cause. I don't know what's happening, right? It's place to me is dead. Where I'm in this area is dead. Nobody, you're not seeing nobody walking the street. So I don't know what is going on. Mr. Pierre, have a nice day. When I hear more, when I can see what is happening, I will give you a call. Okay? God bless you.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
scholar, thank you very much. And that is where I'm disappointed in NAGMA and the Ministry of Education. When you have a thing like that, you have to call on the groups in the community. Everybody is traumatized, including the church. You saw some church roof gone, the Catholic church, and others roof that I saw. And obviously, they tend to have a more elder population. But when you have a group, a thing that you call on the community groups, you have to awake them because they might be in a state of stupor, a state of paralysis. So you need this call from the Ministry of Education, from 5 students in Bishop College, from 5 students in Bishop College, in the area where you are, go around and try to identify and help people. You get a call from the ministry. The ministry have to make the call. The education voice, you have the most active group. You have the Form 3s, Form 4s, and Form 5. So you put out a call to them because the Prime Minister can't visit everybody. By now, Tevin must realize this load to go up the hill is real hard, and the permanent secretary is a hatchet man. He's trying to share food. And he has a policy, drummers food, family first. That is where education comes in. Education have Bishop College and the other college. Form 3, Form 4, and some Form 5 children. You ask them, in the community where you live in, get in contact with the other students from your community and reach out to the elderly, the weak, the sick, the people who live alone. Don't go by yourself. Go in at least 2 by 2, as how Jesus sent out the disciples. But that's why these guys lack the ability to practicalize their education. They're so preoccupied with greed. It's difficult for them. Because they're insensitive to the cries of the ordinary man. And they want to live gala life. They don't want to go in bush now. So they had to be wise. Make the call to Form 3, Form 4, and 5 students. You go have some Form 1 and 2s answering the call. Ask them. You should be in group of 4 or 5. And make certain you account for everybody in your community. The children go like that. Oh, good. And after they could write about it, encourage them to write about it, to write essays, write poems, write songs, write humors. Go around and help the people. You have the manpower, but the Ministry of Education have to awake those energy. You can't leave the energy idle. If you leave it idle, they're going to go in depression. Because they watch the sad faces of the parents who looking hopeless and exasperated and ready to surrender, and some that looking like they go dead. So you call them, they're young, they are the future. Your voice must act as a catalyst to catapult this energy. Well, who trained these people? You are behaving as if you are commission agent for the multinational corporation. Wake up from your slumber and make the call. You have energy in Carriacou. Call the Form 4 and Form 5 students and the Form 3s. The Form 3s is about 13-year-old. Let them find themselves in groups of 5, if possible. And they could sit down and account for every house in the community and reach out and help them. Lord, our people deserve the government we have. But we have to try to do everything in our power to buffer the impact of a bad government. You see, we have a group of vultures that want to live gala life and the shock of the hurricane get them to realize that all of us in Grenada is good people. You don't have good people and bad people. We have good people that do wrong things, that fall short. We don't have classless people in Grenada. We don't have commoners. But we have leaders. And the leader is supposed to take the initiative. So the chief education officer put out a call there, ask Form 4 and Form 5 and Form 3 children to get themselves in groups of 5s and try to look out for the people in their community. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Pierre. Very interesting program which we have. Mr. Pierre, I am looking at it. When you hear you have leaders on the top, now the Bible speaks about now we have to obey people in authority and obey the laws of the land. People who conduct the land, people who are in authority, right? But when you hear you have people in authority who is disrespecting people, you will cause officers swear. Officers will stop on the road doing the jobs. You will pass your way straight and they fling your hand and give them. Now, when you're doing that as government ministers, people in high authority, what are you leaving for we, the ordinary people, to do? Not to disrespect the law, not to disrespect police officers, because I am seeing a trend. Because it comes from the top now. You seen police officers going, you had a clip what was circling a couple months ago, where police arrest someone, detain someone. You see civilian releasing the man from the police hand and telling him, go on, go your way. So when you see you as people in authority doing that, you are someone in authority who go in the police station telling police officers, release that person and pointing hand in the face and getting on with them, going interfering with the job of the police officers. That is not your role. First time I'm seeing these things. The role of a government is to, I don't say you have to put structures in place of police officers to conduct their duty, but to say to be involved, telling police what to want, causing obscenities in front of police. Now it is an offense. But then when you have the one at the very top disrespecting the law, taking out photo by an illegal substance, then you have government ministers now going causing obscenity, literal obscenities in police officer present, causing them, belittling them. Yeah. Flinging hand when they're doing a road check. Flinging hand and just driving out from them. When you hear you have people doing that, what are you leaving for the youths, the younger ones who are growing up? Mr. Pierre, I could have remembered the other time. I was in a little restaurant and a little central school girl at that time. I think she's an adult now. But when she was going to school at that time, I hear she was running on the teacher, saying things about the teacher. Or she business they all about on the street and what she doing. She's teacher, what she kind of life she living and anything. So I reach out to her and I say, young lady, why are you coming on the teacher like that thing? Because she is a teacher and she's supposed to set an example for we the student to follow. And when I check it out, she was very right. Now, when you hear you are someone in authority, someone you're in a position to teach people, to young people looking up to you, you're supposed to be a role model. You're supposed to be a teacher and educator. So someone to look up to, someone to have respect for. Not when you're there in a position that people are disrespecting you because you are not showing respect. Your business they're about on the street and all this kind of thing. So when young people looking at that is where the breakdown come in society. So when I see you now, I see the police officer, I wouldn't have respect for him or she. Because when you hear you have people, government ministers in a higher authority, disrespecting the same police officers who is there to protect and serve. What are you leaving for? The youths coming up, looking at all that, hearing all of this. What you expect? How do you expect them to get on in front of the police officers? They're going to get on the very same way. So we have to teach the youth and educators, big people who in position to be teaching people and that kind of thing. You have a responsibility. You have now that responsibility to teach, and to teach you have to lead by example. You have to have morals and standard. I could have remember I heard while I was a baby then. I didn't know nothing much about the Gary time, but I was listening to all. You sit down and listening to senior people like you and others. So I understand in Gary time, a teacher could not have get pregnant out of wedlock. She could not have get pregnant out of wedlock. She have to marry. That was
she could have got pregnant. She could have got pregnant, but she might have lost her job.
That is what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah. She will lose her job. She will have to keep her job. You have to have moral because you're teaching children is looking up to you.
Yeah,
but example, you have to be an example. Yeah. That had changed. And
they even had a
breakdown.
Yeah, they even had a dress.
And therefore, society is breaking down because of people in authority. They're doing things just to please people and not to uphold the laws and respect in society anymore.
Yeah.
They're doing things just to please people.
Yeah.
So I don't care. I'm doing things to please and for votes. Okay. I'm doing things to do that just for popularity. I'm doing things to gain fame. But then where are the morals for young people to follow? There is no way. And then when you hear you have leaders in church, leaders now, telling you that God's law is abolished. You're helping these people now to have breakdown in society, that they could break the law. They could do what they want. Because when you hear you are the very church leaders telling you to break the law, man. The law was made for the Jews. Okay. So you start from the spiritual realm, come down to other people in society.
That is a big controversial topic.
Of course. That have a lot of weight in it, and you have a lot more to discuss. So anyway, I hope that we young people will take that into consideration and go on with it. Have a good day, Mr. Pierre.
And the police have to do their utmost to live up to the discipline and training and grow. And the police have to remember that they are acting now under stressful situations. And, they have a chain of command. Yes, the police might grace the minister and listen to him, but the minister cannot give the police instruction. The police have a chain of command. Within the police force, there is a chain of command. And that is what you call succession planning. You have the commissioner, police, deputies, you have a number of deputies and etc. Inspector, I don't know all the ranks. I'm not too much of a military person. But the police pass would show a little patience and tolerance with a dumb minister. The minister is, again, you have to remember that these individuals are a little bit arrogant. They lack institutional knowledge. They're bitter and they're arrogant. And they want to live luxurious life and show off on people. So the police supposed to understand that. And maybe they are a little tolerant to the minister's nonsense. But at this point in time, we have to understand that we have manpower. We have to use the manpower we have. And in a situation like in Carriacou, the chief education officer and the permanent secretary in education and the minister should sit and have a meeting and put out a call there for the children in Form 4 and 5 and perhaps 3, because they will be about 13 on, to find themselves in groups as an activity and sit down and account for all the people in the community. So they will first sit down in a group and ask, what's about Tante Jane and Miss Mary and Edo and Slim? Because they know where everybody living. What's about Jack? Mr. James? You know, they know where everybody living. So they could identify, and sometimes they might even go and find them. That is a nice way to use the energy you have. That in itself is therapeutic. The children are not just sit down watching empty buildings. They get involved. They part off. Encourage them to write essays, write poems, write little jests, humor, joke about the hurricane. Draw pictures. So you want the children to be doing things, even drawing books and lead pencils. You could bring up lead pencils and drawing book for them. So children will be drawing and writing. You want to get them active. I hear the minister ifing about school. The prime minister is a joke. School must start when the time comes. Even if you have an open air tent for 2 hours, you must start school. It means you people slow to work. Even if it is an open air on certain days when you don't have rain, even if it's under a tree, in yesteryear, schools was kept under trees. Even if it's to read what the children write and encourage them to draw and write poems and jests and joke and humor and comedy and spontaneous statement. Speak about the hurricane starting now for 1 minute. Speak about galvanized flying starting now for 1 minute. That is therapeutic. Lord, where they get these people and them? All these bright people, you have your certificate on a partition. Practicalize your certificate. What's wrong with us? You don't need psychologists to come to tell you that. You didn't go to school. You don't have sense. Get the children as active as possible. Use Zoom for who could access. Pull children together under a tree, even though it's for 1 hour and a half. Ask a party place to close down between 12 and 1. Have a session there. Come on. We're looking as if we give up the host. We can't develop country like that. But we have to remember we selected this government and we have to try with them. We have to see how we could help them, try to educate them, lobby them, ask them to give up their luxurious life and to live frugal lives. Stop all this running around. Don't be excited about money. The money in the treasury is not yours. It's for people. The money in GDP bank is not yours. We have to try our best to counsel the government. Because remember, we that put them there. And the people deserve the government that they have. So we have to try to buffer the impact of a bad group, a group of vultures that prey on the elderly, the physically challenged, disadvantaged children that does not seem to have answers, although they have the certification. And we're back with you tomorrow between 12 and 1 for another option. And spread the word around and like our program and tell people we're back on YouTube and 91.5. Thank you very much.